Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million strategy roundtable for entrepreneurs. 1M1M, as you know, is the first and only global virtual accelerator in the world. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million in annual revenue and beyond, build $1 trillion in global GDP, and 10 million jobs. In support of that mission, we do these roundtables week after week after week. These are free mentoring sessions. This is the 452nd episode. We started way back when in 2008, in the fall of 2008, and that experiment led us to 1 million by 1 million and this whole full-blown acceleration program. This event is being recorded. Recordings of every single roundtable is available on our YouTube channel. You can look them up. Great learning material. If you are following us on Twitter, you probably know this. If you're not, you can follow us at 1Mby1M and at SRAMANA. We publish a lot of interesting content. Our hashtag for today's event is 1M1M. These are the call-in instructions. We're not quite ready for call-in yet, but we will be. This is a roundtable, not a broadcast. We want you to participate as much as possible. So I will put the slide back up a bit later, and I hope many of you are going to call in and weigh in. We're going to start today's session with a conversation with Sean Dawes, co-founder at Modded Heroes. Sean, welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? Good.
So Sean, let's start by introducing our audience to you. Tell us about you, your business, and what are you doing?
Sure. So Modded Euros is kind of a short version for modified, Euros being European cars. So what we do is we're an aftermarket performance parts online retailer. We sell performance and styling parts for European vehicles such as Audi, BMW, and Volkswagen. 100% online retail. We have a warehouse and offices here in Pennsylvania in the United States, and we ship to customers all over the United States.
And when did you start this company? How did you get it started? And why did you choose this particular domain?
Yeah, so myself and I have two other co-founders in the company. We actually worked about 6 years ago now, I think it's been. We worked for another online automotive retailer, Turn5, which is a holding company of AmericanMuscle.com, ExtremeTerrain.com, as well as American Trucks. They're a Inc. Top 500 online retailer. Pretty much selling aftermarket performance parts and styling parts, but for domestic vehicles. So Ford Mustangs, the Jeep market, as well as some of the American truck models such as Chevy and Ford, the Ford F-150s. So myself and my two co-founders, Jim and Nate, we handled all their customer acquisition, or at least their online customer acquisition. So that's paid search, SEO, as well as paid social. So at the time, Facebook, Instagram was kind of not really taken off just yet, but all the Facebook PPC, retargeting, everything around that is what we handled. And we decided to quit our jobs a number of years ago and kind of launch into a similar vertical that we didn't have a non-compete with. Kind of the mentality behind that was we did take some time, probably about a year and a half to figure out what we wanted to do. So in that time we consulted. We did, online marketing, so paid search, social, paid advertising, as well as SEO for a handful of online retailers and some service-based businesses, as we were kind of figuring out what vertical we wanted to enter, or what domain rather. And for us, we looked at everything, anything from baby products through sporting goods through, and then we eventually came back to automotive. And part of the reason why we liked automotive is we're familiar with it. So if we ever did need to secure any kind of third-party funding outside of traditional financing, it's much easier to secure financing in that type of avenue, already having prior experience and especially working for a company that is very well known in the industry. And two, it's really a good market for the life cycle. A lot of markets, you acquire a customer and they kind of go away. So for example, if you look at the baby product market, a baby's a baby for only a few months and then they become a toddler and, then a young kid. So you either need to make a lot of money very quickly, and that consumer, being the parent, would have to have more children in order for you to drive up your lifetime value for that customer, or you would just need to constantly be acquiring new customers at a decent CPA. So for us, the great thing about automotive is catering to vehicles that are in various price points is, you'll have someone who, say, is 17 years old here in the United States, gets a driver's license, and they get a car for a few $1,000s because that's all they can afford, and they'll buy products for that car. And eventually they sell that car, and then they'll buy another car, and they do it all over again. So the life cycle, if you acquire a customer and keep them happy, can actually go over a long period of time with them as they pretty much rinse and repeat the whole purchase cycle over and over again.
Very good analysis. So talk a little bit about how you got your company off the ground and got to your first million. What were the key drivers, key moves, and how did you get there?
So for anyone, outside of, we're self-funded. So, from day one, it's not like we started with an idea, then went over to someone and says, hey, give us a whole stack of cash and let's get this going. One of the key strategies for us was when we quit our job is being able to pay yourself, right? Obviously, unless you're funded, you need to stay alive until that business turns profitable. And for us, the easiest way to do that was to start another business. So we actually started a consulting business because there's no overhead, right? All you need is your time and to be able to acquire customers, at least clients in this case, and pay yourselves enough money and then also give you enough cash to play with to start your actual business. So for us, it was kind of a twofold process. We said, let's start a consulting company, generate enough revenue that it was just paying ourselves, a decent amount of money, but not enough where it was taking away too much time for us to actually work towards our actual goal, which was to start an e-commerce business and then move away from the consulting business. So that was kind of one of the key strategies for us in order to kind of survive until you got to that MVP. So we picked up a handful of consulting clients, and then we kind of started the store. We did it very cheaply. We did it on out-of-the-box software. There's Shopify, BigCommerce, all these stores that are out nowadays. So you can do it pretty cheaply. And then we just kept going back to what our strengths were, which was marketing from PPC and organic side of search. So what we did was, we kind of were able to test the waters with PPC, and then once we started generating enough sales, we knew that we had a viable product, and that's when we started actually putting some money towards it out of our own pocket to actually build our own platform, which is the basis of what it is today. And then as the company grew and we felt comfortable enough to actually start siphoning money out of the business to actually start, payroll and stuff like that back in the day, we just slowly started firing our clients. So it's like as one business was rising, we started pulling back on the other business. So it's a good way of kind of protecting the downside and removing as much risk for us.
How long did it take you to get to $1 million?
We easily hit $1 million in year one.
In year one, okay.
Yeah.
And
year one. That's the other thing is I think
inventory financing in the kind of business that you have chosen to be in, there's an inventory cost. How did you manage that?
Yeah, so pretty much like any e-commerce business, especially now, it's kind of on the rise, or at least it's more popular in the general public's eyes. Drop shipping is the way to go. Drop shipping, for those who don't know what drop shipping is, it's basically when an order is placed with us, we then in return place the order with the manufacturer or sometimes a wholesale distributor, and they ship the order right to the customer. So you're actually never floating any money outside of the time it takes for you to get the funds into your bank account from whether it be credit card processing or whatever payment gateway you use, PayPal. But that's what we leverage, 100% drop shipping right off the gate, right out of the bat. That was the easiest way to kind of not need capital for inventory. On a resale model, obviously if you're a new business trying to resell someone else's products, your margins are going to be very, very thin. You could have, say, 15% margins before shipping out the door on stuff that you are reselling, like a third party. So one of the keys for us was just making sure that our customer acquisition costs were okay and we weren't necessarily bleeding money. On some brands, we knew we were going to lose money, so you kind of have to eat that and kind of blend it in with the rest of the margins that you're going to get, because ultimately you're striving to get to the typical resale margins, which, are usually 30, you can see as high as 50 points, but usually you're in the 30 to 40 points before shipping costs out the door. So we were very aggressive with customer acquisition and just keeping our eye on the bottom line cost out the door. So we didn't really have to risk too much money. It was just staying on top of the financials to make sure that we weren't going to either we were going to break even early on so with customer acquisition, kind of get the growth rates that we needed, and not lose too much money.
get the business going and so forth, did you change your strategy with the inventory? Did you start taking inventory, or did you keep going with the same drop ship model?
Yeah, so as with any online retailer, even your big box retailers still do drop ship. So depending on the marketplace, you have what's considered high velocity and low velocity. So anything, obviously, for us that once we started doing volume, we started seeing high velocity, we started to inventory that. So, the benefit of inventorying it is a couple things. One is free to the customer, because a lot of your wholesale distributors or even manufacturers take a bit of time for them to ship a product. And, in the age of Amazon, everyone who orders something today wants it yesterday. So that's the battle that you have. And being a new business in, let's say, even today's marketplace, it's extremely brutal for people to come into the marketplace and not be able to get products shipped to the customer as fast as possible. So what we did was we just analyzed what our high velocity items were, and we started bringing those in-house at whatever quantities we could early on. And eventually, like with any retail or even online retail business, you start negotiating terms, right? So you get your net 15 to start, or net 30, and then you work towards net 45, where you're only paying for the goods, 30 days either after they're sold, or some companies do, that month's net 30. So, June's orders you do by the end of August, or July rather, and vice versa. So it was really just kind of ramping up from there and looking at,
Sean, can you adjust your microphone? The audio is a little bit distorted. So something is happening maybe in the position of your microphone.
Is that better?
Well, go ahead and speak and we'll see.
Sure. What I was saying is basically looking at the high velocity items, and you would warehouse those items, whereas you would still drop ship your low velocity items.
And that's where you brought in some inventory financing.
Correct. And a lot of times you can leverage your vendors for that actual financing by negotiating that term.
How much of this have you done with negotiating with vendors and terms versus actually working with lenders who finance inventory?
Are you talking about today? Probably today, at least 60% of our inventory are vendors finance easily.
Vendor finance, okay.
Yeah.
And when,
like I said,
so if you look at the trajectory of your growth, what are the inflection points where you became eligible to be able to negotiate with vendors for terms, or an inflection point where you became eligible to be able to get to negotiate good outside financing to take, to finance your inventory?
Sure. I think you start actually doing, velocity. I mean, no one ultimately cares about you until you start doing some numbers, right? You have to start moving units before anyone actually pays attention to you. You can't start a business and expect someone to give you everything. It's a very give and take, especially in the reseller type of community, because there's only so much that they're willing to give you in terms of margin, and there's only so much you can do in order to sell the product, right? You have marketing costs, you have shipping costs, and things of that nature. So you have to approach it from not only a reseller side, but you have to look at it, what if you're on the other side of the picture and you're a manufacturer? What are things of interest to you? And that's what you need to leverage. And, once you start doing velocity, people start listening because obviously what you're doing is working. So you have to approach it from, you start with the brands that you're moving volume with, you negotiate those types of deals, and then oftentimes you can take those deals and then go back to other brands in your catalog and say, well, it's working for us over here, how about we try it for you, even though we're not the largest retailer for you. And oftentimes they'll listen, especially if you're doing, any type of business with you, with them rather. And then ultimately you'll get to the point where brands approach you to get into your catalog, right? You're gaining market share, you have impressions. Whether you move product or not, they just want to get into your catalog just because of the eyeballs that you are getting. And at that point, you're in a position where you can say, these are my requirements. Whereas before, when you're early on starting a business, you'll sell anything, right? Ultimately, you're just trying to stay alive, you're trying to get revenue. But when you get to a position where you have control of either the marketplace or you have a decent control of the market share, in terms of impressions at least, you can start setting your terms, meaning these are the margins I require net terms, I require for us, it's shipping speed. We need people to ship our orders. If they are going to be drop shipped, they have to be shipped within a very fast period of time, and you hold people accountable. But in return, you're going to, say, well, if you do all these things and we bring you on, these are all the things that we're going to do for you. So you have to approach it from both sides of the picture and always put yourself in the perspective of, if I was a manufacturer, how would this sound to me?
Yeah. And how does your merchandising strategy flow from all this? I'm sure you've said a lot of things which point to, search volumes driving merchandising strategy,
sure.
Velocity of what's selling drives merchandising strategy. What have been the thinking behind your merchandising strategy?
Sure. So, this can kind of apply to everyone outside of even automotive, since we're automotive. But one of the strategies obviously is filling product gaps. So for us, for example, let's say, and I'm going to simplify this just for the sake of the audience, say we didn't sell wheels, right? And we were just selling performance products. But we say, well, our customers also buy wheels. Why aren't we selling wheels? So then you start looking for manufacturers that sell wheels, and you obviously look for them at an attractive margin. The same goes on a very granular level, which is what we actually do. We look very specific product categories. That's a very simplified example. But for example, our vehicles are around year, make, and model. So we start identifying and saying, what's a large number of customers that are either inputting vehicles into our database looking for products, and then what are we not actually offering? It could be a specific year or year range that we have really a very poor selection on. So then you start going after that. Another strategy, obviously, is margin, right? You have to make money. You're not in the business to lose money or break even. So margin comes into play. A lot of times you'll have more than one brand for the same type of product. So you need to make sure that by bringing on a brand, you're not cannibalizing the sales of another brand. So, for example, let's say we sell a product and we're making 40 points on. Well, this new brand comes on that we want to sign on, and we're going to, let's say, get half of that, 20 points. Well, why would I want to sell that? Am I going to do volume? Because if I can justify it on a volume basis, I can justify it from a bottom line standpoint. But if it's not necessarily going to do volume and offset my net, then why would I do it? Because I'm just going to cannibalize sales from one brand to another and actually lose money. So it really depends on your strategy. It could be speed. I might want to get rid of a brand that's too slow, or they can't fulfill our inventory, something like that, to speed up. And that's a customer experience kind of merchandising strategy. It's not always just about, one thing or the other, whether it be price or filling a product gap. It's kind of an overall picture you have to take for merchandising. Very
interesting. You have bootstrapped the business. Even though you said that early on in your choice of verticals, you factored in the idea of maybe at some point raising financing, but you didn't raise financing. Sure. What has been the thinking vis-a-vis financing strategy within the company?
I'm a big believer in what I like to refer to as being hungry. I think oftentimes companies go down the path of raising money for a few reasons. One is what I refer to as like throwing a Hail Mary. They get to the point where they're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? I need cash. And they go after that, and they bring on a poor partner. They go after it from just pure money aspect, and they bring on partners that ultimately cause too many problems with the business. We see this with a lot of actually brands in our industry that just make poor decisions. They go to private equity, and actually the customer base kind of backfires on them. And we actually see this with one of the larger competitors that we do have that's private equity owned and is actually experiencing some troubles right now. I think it's a control aspect. I think it's also a good strategy because, a company that's lean is also actually more dangerous, right? Because, if you just throw money at something, eventually you're going to have to make that money back. So a private equity company, can dump as much money as they want, but if they can't make it back, they're in a bad position. Whereas if you're running lean and you can scale on a lean model, that's very dangerous to someone who's dumping too much cash into a business.
Totally agree. It's very much in line with our philosophy here.
Yeah, it's like a lot of times people make decisions on short-term revenue, whereas I like to make decisions based on long-term revenue, and I think that's a better long-term revenue decision. Now, obviously, if you need financing for something on a large scale, that's a different decision. But I'm speaking from this marketplace, and you'll see actually a lot of these larger automotive e-commerce stores have never received any funding. Our prior employer never received outside cash, just traditional financing.
Right. Now, in the strategy of running lean, what role has a virtual company structure played for you? Could you describe actually the structure of your team and how you've recruited, where you've recruited, and how you've kept things lean?
Yeah, sure. So from a recruiting standpoint, ultimately, I don't necessarily care where anybody is in the world. Obviously, for certain tasks, like working in the warehouse, they have to actually be physically here. But as far as you have graphic design, you have web design, and things of that nature. We utilize people from all over the world, and not necessarily. I'm not talking about freelancer websites and just hiring people like that.
Adjust your microphone once more, please.
Sure. I'm not referring to doing things of the nature like freelancer or Elance and stuff like that, to do web development. But, we have our web developers are not in the United States. They're in Europe. And, a language barrier to me doesn't matter. Location doesn't matter. We just ultimately need to recruit the best talent. And for us, that's always been the thing. I mean, I'm a big advocate of self-managing, and if someone can't self-manage themselves, then it's just micromanaging, and I think micromanaging is useless because it wastes my time and the person that I'm hiring's time. You should ultimately hire people who are very intelligent and more intelligent than you in the areas that you're hiring for. I think from a management standpoint, you have to have a general idea of what needs to be done. So you should have some general idea of how to do each job. That makes you more effective at hiring for that position, but ultimately you need to hire people who are smarter than you and can just take something and run with it. And oftentimes by restricting your workforce to a 10-mile radius around where your physical office is, I think that runs into a problem.
What is the size of your team today?
We're over a dozen employees, so we keep it lean. And
so the remote, what percentage is remote and what percentage is, how many are remote, how many are virtual, how many are on location?
About, 25% remote? Yeah.
25% remote, okay.
Yeah.
And so this is my final question, and let's spend a little bit of time brainstorming about this topic, because this is what applies to all the entrepreneurs who are thinking of starting small e-commerce companies today. How does a small e-commerce merchant compete with Amazon in this day and age? What is your advice for new entrepreneurs in the category?
Sure. I'm going to speak from the automotive, but there's also, this applies to pretty much many of the verticals. I think a lot of, if you're in, let's say, a resale, right? So there's a couple different models. You can either resell someone's stuff, or you can actually private label manufacture, which would be, taking a product, manufacturing it, either manufacturing under your own name or under another label. Most manufacturers are actually not interested in being sold on Amazon. If you actually look at a lot of their policies that are in place nowadays and coming out, most of them have what's considered a do not sell list, which Amazon and eBay are generally actually on that list. The reason being is most manufacturers are realizing that it's not a long-term strategy to have something get diluted on Amazon. So Amazon really isn't a concern to me. We don't even look at it really, to be honest with you, and most retailers don't as far as these niche businesses. If you're going to try to start in some other verticals, that might be a challenge. If you're going to sell televisions or try to sell something like that, like good luck. But in a lot of these niche businesses, Amazon won't be able to compete on the things that actually matter, which is customer service, because a lot of these type of markets require extreme amounts of knowledge, and Amazon has successfully actually built a massive business on very little customer service around the area of one-on-one interactions, whether it be through phone calls, live chat, actual marketing initiatives, no social. It's quite impressive, but that's why I think some of these niche businesses are actually able to survive in the age of Amazon, is for that reason. So, how to kind of successfully build a business in today's age with Amazon, I think it's, one, you have to pick the right market. You have to analyze it from a few different points. For us, it needs to have an average order value of a decent size, because if you're reselling, you have to apply the reselling margin, and that'll apply also what you can afford for a customer acquisition cost. At the end of the day, it just boils down to math. What's your customer acquisition cost? What's your targeted average order value based on your margin? And that'll determine what that order's profitability is. And then you have to look at a market size and say, is it big enough? And if it's big enough, who are the players? Are we able to take a percentage of that? And, is it viable? You can't necessarily pick a market that's extremely small and expect to be profitable and survive. It's just not going to work. So you have to really approach it from a few different angles.
So, my take on this topic is it's partly what you said, yes, that you have to pick a category where Amazon is not going to play, and the information-rich categories that people have a lot of questions about and that require one-on-one customer service is a very good filter to put on what category you choose to go into. Another category another filter to put in is, categories where people want immediate delivery are not good categories to compete with Amazon in, right? Because that is one of their great customer service sweet spots is, immediate delivery, Prime, and they're offering incredible delivery terms these days. And if that matters in your niche, that's probably not something that you're going to be able to compete with Amazon in. So your customer base needs to be willing to trade off that one-on-one customer support, rich, high-touch customer support, with the idea of the fact that you may take a bit longer to deliver, because I don't think the third-party logistics providers have yet gotten to a point where everybody is offering, the same kind of delivery terms as Amazon is offering. I think they will get there. There's a lot of pressure on the third-party logistics providers to match Amazon's level of delivery services, right?
Well, I'd actually kind of debate that because, even in our market, like I said, people want to order it today and have it yesterday. So, we have numerous customers. They'll place an order, and within 30 minutes, they're asking for tracking information. So, you really can't get away unless you're building something custom. The customer base in the United States is very, very eager to get their products, and in a polite way. Whereas I think internationally, international customers tend to be willing to wait a little bit longer, actually.
So what is your experience in terms of delivery? Well, how are you doing that? Are you working with third-party logistics providers who are able to do what you need?
No, so we don't use 3PLs. We use our own warehouse, and then we also, like I said, a percentage of our orders do get drop shipped, which is common across every single competitor in this space, because some of these products are low velocity. It's really working with those manufacturers because you have less control in getting these items out the door very quickly. So it's a constant battle. It really is.
Well, you may not have to use 3PLs, but the manufacturers will have to use 3PLs. So if you have to meet those...
No, they actually don't. A lot of them don't use 3PLs.
So how do they deliver?
Through their own warehousing. Yeah, the issue with 3PLs...
They have enough coverage to be able to deliver within 1 or 2 days with their own service?
No, it won't deliver. Yeah, no, it won't deliver within 1 to 2, but it'll ship out within 24 hours. And ultimately, that's what the customer wants. They want tracking information. They want to know they placed the order and they're getting tracking information very, very fast.
I see. So that's doable.
Yeah.
That's doable.
Yeah.
That's doable. Right. But the Amazon customer base
think it's doable,
is
but it's
looking
not.
for fulfillment completed within 2 days or 3 days, and that's creating a lot of pressure on the.
Yeah. In some of these markets, it'll never happen because if you look at it from just a pure math standpoint, if you have low velocity, there's no way you can really achieve a next day delivery on low velocity. You'd have to your holding costs and your churn on those items would eat you alive on a reselling margin.
Well, yes and no, because if the third-party logistics providers standardize on those kinds of delivery terms, then you would be able to deliver by using somebody else's network and still be able to meet those terms. I think that change is still in the process. That change has not come fully kicked in gear.
Right. Yeah, right.
Right. All right. Well, Sean, very interesting. Would you like to provide any guidance on how far along are you by way of, revenues or whatever you're comfortable with?
We can't disclose revenue. There's so many people who would want to know what our revenue is, but I mean, we're definitely in the, in the 7 figures per employee easily. So.
All right. Excellent. Well, congratulations, and we'll keep in touch and track your progress.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
All right.
Okay, folks.
Bye-bye.
We are going to switch to the next segment of the conversation today. This is the Entrepreneur Pitch segment. We have a couple of presenters, and just want to set some expectations. This is a working session. It's a safe working session. You bring your issues, and we will try to work on those issues and help you accelerate your journey. That's all there is to it. We're not trying to achieve anything else through these conversations. You may disagree, by the way, with the feedback you get here. That's fine. It's your company. You decide what you want to do and so forth. Just know one thing. Not all businesses can raise money. Not all businesses should raise money. And raising money doesn't guarantee success. You just listen to Sean talk about the business that he has built that is approaching a 7-figure business. And, actually well into a 7-figure business. I know this because we interviewed Sean in the Entrepreneur Journey story on our blog. You'll see that story if you're interested in digging deeper into Sean's company, Modaduros. You can go look up that story. So we know from screening for that story that it's a $5 million plus business. So clearly, there are lots and lots and lots of entrepreneurs building $5 million, $10 million, $20 million businesses without raising any money. So don't assume that you have to raise money, and if you fail to raise money, you have failed. That is not at all the reality of this universe. Anyway, so those are some caveats. Let's start with, is Greg on the line?
I'm here, SRAMANA. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning. How are you, Greg?
Good. Is my microphone okay?
Yes, your microphone is fine. Tell us what you're working on.
Sure. So I'm working on. I'm the CEO and co-founder of BetterPT, a healthcare startup platform based in New York, and I'm excited to tell you guys a little bit about our business and our story. If you could go to the next slide, please.
Yeah.
So I'd like to start by showing this visual. This visual and statement has a lot of implications to a lot of people. And I'd like to start by provoking this emotion to you and some of the people following this. Next slide, please. A patient in healthcare is no different than a traveler at the airport. The interactions with both airport security and our healthcare system can feel confusing, overwhelming, time-consuming, unpredictable, and out of control. Yet both systems are essential to maintain our quality of life. So it's companies like Clear on the right and BetterPT on the left that are revolutionizing their respective industries, focused on access, security, and interoperability. Next slide, please. Inefficient legacy technology and the overuse of advanced imagery, surgeries, injections, and opioids have left preventative care like physical therapy in the dark when it comes to the healthcare conversation. The end result, a broken user experience for PT patients, a strained healthcare system, and a fragmented market of PT practices scattered across the country, operating on dwindling margins. Physical therapy is a huge industry, $35 billion and growing, and yet the largest player only has 9.4% of the market. Consolidation has been extremely challenging. Next slide, please. BetterPT is changing all of this. BetterPT uses cloud-native technology to connect the 3 pillars of physical therapy: patients, physicians, and physical therapy providers. Through BetterPT's iOS app, Android app, and website, patients are 3 clicks away from scheduling appointments at convenient locations that accept their insurance. On the clinic side, BetterPT's interoperable software communicates with both EMRs and schedulers to optimize back-office efficiency. Our secure, HIPAA-compliant microservice technology gives clinics a direct link to new and existing patients. BetterPT gives outdated clinics the digital exposure to update, build, and maintain a thriving business for the 21st century. Next slide, please. The BetterPT platform will evolve into the first 360-degree solution for the continuum of care. This will include services on and offline, clinical decision-making capabilities, telehealth, and care coordination. Our platform will support the patient's journey to better health. Next slide, please. Our founding team represents the paradigm we are innovating: fitness and wellness and technology, orthopedics and physical therapy, supported by a gold standard partnership with Hospital for Special Surgery, the leader in orthopedics and rheumatology. HSS provides access to thought leaders and alumni across the country, along with a one-of-a-kind credentialing for PT clinics. And that's part of an initiative to bring value-based care and physical therapy to the forefront. BetterPT is the first startup to receive investment from HSS, which we are very proud of. Next slide, please. Physical therapy clinics are our customer. BetterPT is a SaaS platform, which charges a monthly subscription fee determined by the number of clinics using the platform. On average, a clinic break-even through our platform is just 1.5 patients per year, positioning BetterPT as a solid investment for PT companies and hospital systems of all sizes. Next slide, please. Since going to market in April of last year, we have seen strong, consistent month-over-month growth in both our patient signups as well as paying clinics. In this time, our platform has generated over 50,000 appointments for our customers. Next slide, please.
Can we stay on the slide for a moment, and could you elaborate on the MRR? Sure. What is your MRR is 40,000 a month right now?
At the end of this month, it'll be over 50, yes.
Okay.
And we can always go back, but I just want to, this is the last slide. I know we have a 5-minute clock, so I just wanted to be mindful of your time. So okay. Finally, in closing, treatment and outcomes are better than ever, but access, security, and interoperability are at their worst. BetterPT is the only digital marketplace positioned and capable of absorbing patients and PT practices at scale. But we're not going to stop at physical therapy. What we're after is better healthcare. So we have on our roadmap the plan to use BetterPT as a platform in many, many verticals in healthcare. Thank you.
So what is your positioning vis-a-vis WebPT, for instance?
WebPT is an EMR. So WebPT services the revenue cycle management compliance of a practice. So EMRs are the backbone of most practices, if not most all healthcare systems across the country. We function complementary to the EMR. So we actually have contracts with EMR companies like Epic, like Cerner, that we are able to integrate into their EMR to provide seamless connectivity, scheduling, so on and so forth.
Do you have any partnership with WebPT right now?
We've worked with a lot of WebPT customers. They're in the process of they've gone through their acquisition of another EMR called BMS. And in that time, we put our kind of scheduling integration on hold, but we integrate with all the major EMRs servicing the largest outpatient PT practices.
And what is your customer acquisition strategy?
It's actually fourfold because we have 4 buckets of customers. We work with hospital systems, so we actually, through our partnership with HSS, have had direct access to many hospitals across the country, starting in the Northeast. And then we have our enterprise customers, which is our largest, and those take the longest from a sales cycle perspective. But being part of the industry for so many years, we've been able to access the leaders and the decision makers, and that's why we've been able to scale so fast. We've been able to position ourselves as an enterprise model that's simply deployable and cost efficient. So we focused heavily on the enterprise, and then, as you mentioned, the WebPT customer, which is the private practice. We have a segment that we focus on, private practice, but it is a very labor-intensive process dealing with 1 and 2 locations as opposed to.
You want to focus on the large hospitals and build this as an enterprise.
Hospitals are one vertical because hospitals are now in the process of buying back outpatient physical therapy sites for cost purposes. And so we service the outpatient community, which is those hospitals, and we also service the office-based PTs, PT enterprise customers.
I see. And where do you need help?
I think the interesting part about being in healthcare is it's a very, very slow adopter. So I'm always interested in hearing people's feedback or experience about what moves adoption in healthcare, especially as it relates to the digitization or the modernization of healthcare, which is finally happening. And we've experienced in everything else that we've done in our lives. Everyone is using their phone and they're connected to the world. And here we are in healthcare now in this process, and I would love to hear your feedback or experience or suggestions.
Well, one area where we're spending a lot of time thinking about right now is platform as a service and on all these different SaaS companies that are trying to do platform ecosystems or API integrations into their ecosystems. And if you can find companies in your adjacent segments who are interested in doing that kind of API integrations and opening up their customer base to you, that would be one of the biggest leverage points for expanding your velocity or enhancing your velocity.
Yeah, great point, and that's what we did. We have 3 or 4 major contracts which allow us to work with our partners to, one, help service their customers and keep modernizing their practice, but to your point, it helps us accelerate on the provider side growth. I think the other challenge that I would ask for a thoughtful response is, this is a marketplace, right? We have a marketplace, and marketplace dynamics is complicated because it's easy to find providers. Everybody wants to be on the receiving end of a marketplace. So what are your experiences in advising marketplace companies about how to stay balanced as they grow?
So you said, though, you have a subscription fee business model, right?
Correct.
So it's not a marketplace. Marketplaces tend to be transaction fee business model. You may have people on various users of your system, but it's not a marketplace. It's not like people that you have a very specific user base, customer base that are subscribing to your system and you're basically a SaaS business. You'll be valued and built as a SaaS business. So sorry, I'm missing where is the marketplace element of this?
Well, the marketplace is the patient. We may not be charging the patient right now, but there are many opportunities to provide access to things for patients that would be part of the functional mechanic. And the other part of it is we can't charge patients by law. So this model is about subscription from a SaaS provider.
Yeah, in that case, the marketplace model, it's a subscription SaaS model, and you have to cater to the people, the customers who are subscribing to your system. The patient is a user, but the patient is not an equal party in this.
What
you call a marketplace. The marketplace is usually an equal party.
Well, it is because without a patient, part of the reason why BetterPT, the value of BetterPT is that you're improving access to all of these providers. So they're finding new funnels of patients. And so part of our job is to grow our marketplace, which is BetterPT.com, where we are pursuing contracts with payers and private employers and other potential patient funnels to feed into these practices. So it is a marketplace. So that is the challenge because a patient in healthcare, especially in PT, is valued at over $1,000. So when you think about that, we may not be charging the patient, but the value of that patient organically coming through our marketplace to that provider, that's what we're being judged on right now. So it does have a marketplace dynamic.
I think the thing that you need, what I'm pushing back on is how you think about it, right? If the provider, if the healthcare systems are your subscribers, they are subscribing to your system so that you can help them bring the patients and manage the patients. That's the value proposition. So yes, what you're selling is the access to the patients, so you have to bring the patients in. You are basically, at some level, your marketing channel for these hospital systems, and the hospital systems are paying you to do that to outsource that marketing in a way. I wouldn't call this a marketplace. A marketplace is, in industry definition terms, a marketplace is one where people transact, and it's a transaction revenue-based business. Because if you go to investors and tell them that we're building a marketplace, they will expect a transaction business. It's not a transaction business, it's a subscription business. It's a SaaS business. The dynamics of a SaaS business, how a SaaS business gets evaluated and analyzed and valued is very different from a marketplace business. That's the point that I'm making.
So if we are going to launch, if we're going to launch payment processing for copay processing, so then it would turn into a marketplace based on your definition.
Maybe.
Yeah. So I mean, again, it's the feature set that we're going towards. But I mean, ultimately, our ultimate goal is to create an Amazon type experience for healthcare, and PT has that opportunity. What we're working on now with extended features that we would be able to have transactional marketplace dynamics like telehealth, and like I said, payment processing. And that's what makes this model so interesting.
All right. Okay, good execution so far.
Thank you very much for your time.
You're very welcome. Hemanta Shrestha is next.
Hello, SRAMANA, can you hear me? Well?
Yes, we can hear you fine. Go ahead.
That's great. SRAMANA, thank you for the opportunity. Hello, everyone. My name is Hemanta Shrestha, one of the co-founders of Wiseyak Inc., which is based in Bellevue, Washington State. We are also based in Katmandu, Nepal. Nepal is a country of Mount Everest, if you don't know. Next slide, please. Yeah, Wiseyak is a healthcare IT company, and we have about 6 people in our team. It's a clinical distance support company. Next slide, please. Yeah, value proposition. Wiseyak has our legacy product. We call it WISEMD. Before I talk about value proposition, I want to talk a little bit about the pain points in the current healthcare industry. Well, healthcare data is a huge challenge, even in the Western world. Healthcare data has been always kind of been complex, fragmented, difficult to analyze. It's too much data for hospital doctors. And the data is so unstructured. It's hard to kind of get something out of it. And it is in many developing countries. That is all paper based. There is no electronic health record. That's kind of very painful. Not only for hospitals and patients, also for doctors. Keeping up with the current EMR system is very hard. I hear a lot of studies like doctors getting depressed just because they have to fill up all their EMRs, So that's pretty painful, So at the meantime, the current EMR is, such a pain. It's complex. It's a SQL based on a lot of the tables, rows and columns. You have to switch back and forth. It's very difficult to update, manage, and share the EMR data. So that is one of the biggest challenges and frustrating part of managing EMR. And at the meantime, so we are trying to come up with what technology. Now, the last couple of years, basically, is use of artificial intelligence and machine learning. I think we can come up with a lot better EMR, which is very smart, efficient, and easy to manage for hospitals and doctors, and also easy to access their EMR for patients. That is, we can come up with that technology. At the meantime, the second value proposition we currently have, we are trying to come up with is more like mobile based. One is first one is like a desktop version that is a clinical distance support. We call it WISEMD. That has a very special feature. Unlike current traditional EMR, our system will have major feature is a differential diagnosis. Differential diagnosis, that means like, once you enter the data, once you enter a symptom for a patient, the system will analyze all the data in the back end. The technology, we are using graphical database technology. And based upon all the information you feed into the machine, to the system, it'll shortlist, shortlist all the problems the patient is currently going through. And it gives you a lot of information for the physicians. Ultimately, the physician will decide what the problem of the final diagnosis is going to be. But it'll help. It will not. Our tool will not replace doctor. It'll augment. It'll help doctors to make a better clinical decision support. So basically, at the meantime, unlike this current traditional EMR. This is going to be a single page application. One page, the doctor should be able to fill up their information, patient information, and visualize. You can also see the dashboard on the side and differential diagnosis feature on the right-hand side. So it has a beautiful feature in single page, easy to manipulate. That's the beauty of this system we are trying to come up with. I think so far we have done pretty good progress, and we are going to showcase it pretty soon. Can you go back to one slide, please? I'm not finished. Okay, the third point I wanted to make is the Uber model. Uber model of healthcare delivery. It's basically currently in healthcare industry, the communication between patients and doctors has been so difficult. Always kind of the patients do not know where to go, which doctor to see, and all that, right? So the Uber model we are trying to come up with is basically it allows doctor to register their information into our system. At the meantime, the patients will also get an opportunity to register themselves, so that it's like an Uber taxi model, right? And they can doctor and patients can communicate each other, and the patients can find the right doctor in the right place and all that. So that's the model we are trying to come up with. Next slide, please. Yeah, the target market and addressable market we have for our system is obviously doctors and hospitals and patients, and all the research university. They are trying to kind of make a lot of breakthroughs with it, given the technology we currently have it, right? That there's it's huge market is growing exponentially. It is more than the double-digit CAGR. So the market is like we are. Some of the analysts are coming up with over $400 billion industry. This healthcare IT industry, they're projecting this market. At the meantime, we are currently deploying this tool in Nepal. Nepal is a small market. At the meantime, we have it's a great opportunity for us to validate our product. And at the meantime, once we prove ourselves in Nepal. We will move into Asia Pacific market, and definitely our roadmap is to get into the global market. That is our, once again, our customer target is basically, the doctors, patients, and hospitals. Yeah, positioning. Positioning basically. Once again, I said earlier, we are different. We are different from the current EMR system. It is very smart. It is self-learning system. It is going to be very accessible and easy to manage, update and share. At the meantime, we want to make this solution very affordable for hospitals and doctors, and for patients. We want to make it for free. At least, for now, we want to kind of test this market and positioning. That is our positioning. And we are different. And once again, this is the only platform actually. I haven't seen other platform doing what we have been doing. Basically, the backend is basically it is using graphical database, and it is also using medical ontology. That is huge, humongous. There's whole lot of information out there, and the platform will extract and we can this information can be customized, hospital specific, doctor specific, any department and all that. So this is going to be a very different platform. This is a kind of phenomenon I haven't seen. Just quite honest, to be honest, I haven't seen that. At the meantime, technology we're using obviously, machine learning and AI and graph database, and the ontology is like medical ontology. We're using FAR HL7 ontology. And once again, in terms of offering, we are trying to come up with B2B model is more like platform per service, right? Platform fee, and at the meantime, for customer, we want to make it more free, and also we'll charge depending upon the features of the product. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is our go-to-market strategy, SRAMANA. This is, once again, we are in Nepal. The region we are in Nepal is kind of, at this time, the cost of deployment is, relatively low versus in U.S. And kind of, we are trying to test our market. And unlike in the U.S., it's highly regulated, a lot of, regulations and all that, versus being in Nepal is basically we have a lot of advantage in terms of accessibility, testing our market and all that. So that is our advantage here, and it's a great place, great opportunity to validate our product.
So, Hemanta, can I stop you for on this slide and ask you some questions?
Yeah, please.
What validation do you have? Right now, do you have an anchor hospital in Nepal that is helping you develop this product?
Yes. We are partnering with Katmandu University Hospital, the local hospital actually. That hospital is a big research university, one of the best universities of Nepal. They are very research focused, and they understand the technology. They understand where things are heading to, and they also understand kind of what we are capable of. And we are working with the Katmandu University Hospital. And at the meantime, there is another hospital, Children's Hospital, International Friendship Children's Hospital. We are also deploying our tool there. So we have two hospitals testing our product. So this is great. Yes, we are piloting our product in IFCS, International Friendship Hospital, and Katmandu University is paying us. Yes, they are paying us.
How much are they paying?
That's a good thing. Yeah, well, we are currently, we are deploying our product. Currently, we are paying a little over $3,000 per month. It's not a whole lot of money, but it can definitely.
Katmandu University is right now paying you $3,000 per month, and what is your cost of running this operation in Nepal?
Yeah, cost is one second. That's the advantage we currently have. It is very minimal. We have developers and data scientists, and that is, I think, 1/3. The cost is 1/3 of that.
Okay, so you can finance, based on what you're getting paid from Katmandu University, you can finance the development of this.
Yes, definitely. We have been doing that, and kind of it's time for us to showcase our product, and at the meantime, we are also trying to develop like Uber model. I said, right? Uber model is something we are also very interested, and we can scale that business. I think for that we need a little more money, obviously, right? And kind of also looking for some revenue opportunities.
You're not at a stage where you can raise money. This pitch is not ready for funding. You're gonna need to learn a lot of things to be able to raise money.
Yes, absolutely, Sherman. I agree. We are in the early stage, and kind of in thinking about bringing industry is a little premature. I understand. At the meantime, we want to ensure that our product is proven, it is working. That's where we are very focused, and we are bootstrapping our product, our company. But we are very positive and hopeful. I think we can make a pretty good breakthrough.
I'm actually thrilled to see that you're doing this in Nepal, and we have some discussions going on. Actually, Nepal, there's an organization from Nepal has approached us for a partnership. So it's actually very good to see that you're doing a venture in Nepal, and I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, who's this again, Sharmana? Who's reaching out to you?
I cannot disclose.
Okay, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, that's okay. So my question to you, is basically, so we have been, reached out by a few investors. I don't know if how serious they are. Kind of somehow they got our leads and kind of they are reaching out to. So, but when we think, our team thinks it's a little too premature to, think about, bringing.
From Nepal?
Yeah, from the U.S. From the U.S.
From the U.S. Are they people of Nepalese origin?
No, they are not. They are from U.S. Some equity company. They must have gotten some, leads.
I mean, any company, any investor who knows what he's doing or she is doing, you are not ready for that. You're not ready for investment.
We are not. Yeah, I agree.
So if an investor has approached you at this stage, in this stage, I would question the judgment and the caliber of those investors. You may end up with a lot of dumb investors, dumb money, as we call it.
Yes, that's why we are trying to avoid. That's why we are trying to avoid to bring in dumb investor. Obviously, we don't want that. We would rather stay, the self-finance, self-funding, and let the business drive revenue itself. But ultimately, I think we are. Yeah.
I understand the stage you're in. I'm going to explain how to use 1 million by 1 million in a moment. So if you have questions, you can ask after that segment, okay?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
So folks, if you like what we're doing here, please refer 1 million by 1 million to serious entrepreneurs. Everybody that you heard from today, everybody is a serious entrepreneur. They're developing products, generating revenues, making progress. They have strategies, and this is the kind of entrepreneurs we are interested in working with. So if you have such people in your friends and family networks who are looking for help, this is a perfect place for help. However, there is a category of entrepreneurs who are not interested in studying, not interested in listening to the feedback, not interested in doing the homework. They just think that somehow or the other they're going to become successful without putting in the work needed to become successful. Please do not send us this kind of entrepreneur, because we don't know how to make them successful. All the resources you would be needing to use 1 million by 1 million is at 1Mby1M.com. We have a blog that is very rich and it's free. The Entrepreneur Journeys book series, there are 12 volumes of case study-based books. You can learn from those as well. The roundtables, these roundtables happen every week. So you are very welcome to come to more roundtables and learn from these and listen to some recordings as well. The full acceleration program from 1 million by 1 million is 1M by 1M Premium. And there you get extensive methodology guidance. You get access to our online curriculum, and that teaches you a lot of the methodology. And we have similar sessions, roundtable sessions, where we do the project-based coaching, mentoring, consulting, whatever you call it. That's our private roundtables. We help you with business development where our network aligns with what you need. We do help you with financing, but you have to be fundable for us to open our network for you. And we help you with media relations. We have a lot of clout in the media. This program is a $1,000 annual membership fee. In addition, if you go to the self-assessment, there's a whole lot of questions that we ask you. These are questions that investors would ask you. You have to be able to answer these questions to be credible in front of investors. So I prefer that you ask these questions yourself in private, maybe with me, but not in front of investors until you have all your ducks lined up. If you get stuck, a very good place to go to plug your methodology gaps, knowledge gaps, is to 1M1M Basic, $99 per month curriculum only module options. You can learn whatever you need to learn. You just need to put in 100 hours of study time, and then you can get a lot further than where you are right now. So go to the website, dig around, see what the program is all about, what to expect from premium, basic. There are lots of FAQs, video FAQs. look at the description of the curriculum, and decide if this program is for you or not. We believe in a case study-based model. So we have over 1,000 successful entrepreneurs who have come to this forum and shared their success stories and also what hasn't worked for them. And we have used those case studies to help you learn from these entrepreneurs who have come before you. And that's really effective. It's been tremendously effective. Our methodology is lean, capital efficient, bootstrap startups. Philosophy is bootstrap first, raise money later. That's the way the market operates. So that's it. We have 3 public roundtables on August 1st, August 8th, and August 29th. And there is actually an in-person roundtable also while I'm in Calcutta on August 24th. There's in-person rendezvous in Silicon Valley. August 7th is the last one for the summer, and then we open up in the fall on September 4th with another rendezvous. These are at Cafe Boroni. If you're from Silicon Valley or visiting, please stop by. I'll be happy to see you and talk to you. We are ready for Q&A, so anybody who wants to ask questions can dial in, or you can also ask questions in the public chat. Let me introduce you to Irina Patterson. Irina is the person whom you should reach out to if you have questions about the program. Not to me. You should contact Irina if you have questions about the program. And that's it. So questions, comments, introductions, feedback, feel free to introduce yourselves in the public chat. Tell us where you're joining from, who you are, what your project is, etc. How did you hear about 1 million by 1 million, and so forth. Anybody? Questions, comments? No? No one has a question? This is interesting. All right, if you don't have questions, I'm going to adjourn the session, and we'll see you back here next week then. Thank you for coming today. Bye-bye.
Thank you, SRAMANA.
Bye-bye.